Welcome to the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. I am, of course, KG Kris Gardner, and with me are two colleagues, part of the Folks Talking Sports family, FTS crew, Miss Kennetra Pulliams. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hey, it's good to be back. It's been a minute since I've been on this Thankful Thursday takeover.
Yes, indeed. And also, Mr. Adolphus A.D. Moore from the corner. How are you, sir?
And you know, my kids gonna try to figure out how am I doing this, and I'm in class teaching them. That's I'm going like, hey, don't worry about it. It's the wonderment.
I love that. I have had that at school sometimes. Mr. Gardner, how are you? How?
Yeah.
Wait, what? But
Yeah.
we are recording this show Wednesday evening. You are watching it live high noon on Thursday on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, and also on Roku via the BS3 Network. So thank you for watching on the platforms on either Facebook at Houston Roundball Review, YouTube, Houston Roundball Review, and on Roku via BS3. And as always, if you have Roku, download the app, download BS3 TV, please. It helps out me and AJ and Ben and everybody at the BS3 family. If not, you can go to BS3Network.com or BS3TVLive.com to watch great shows like The Takeover and other awesome content throughout your day, week, month, and year. Okay, everyone. We're going to do things a little bit different. Takeover is taking on a new shape and format. A few weeks ago, young lion Andy Yanez joined me as a guest. We did that show from, I think, Kansas City in the Big 12. Last Thursday was a rebroadcast of an episode of Folks Talking Sports. This show was two of my colleagues. Next week's show, you might have the guys from Paul Slamma Jamma on here. Who knows? Or we might have rebroadcast. But we're branching out, trying to expand. Might convince Mr. Moore to broadcast one of his AdMax Corner shows with Texans and NFL talk here on Thursdays. The Thursday high noon show, the time slot is going to be for us, and we're going to utilize it as best we can. And AD, who knows, I might be able to convince Queen Pulliams to do her own show and do that here on the show on a Thursday as well. Just putting it out there also.
I'll show up and watch it.
Sure.
I'll let my class watch it. Tell them, hey, get extra credit for a test.
She's knowledgeable. She knows sports. She knows a lot of things, and we're going to. She's going to show that on today's episode. But first things first.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all. No pressure at all. Because, well, okay, for those who don't know, how did we meet? How, when, and where did we meet? Did we first meet, Miss Pulliams?
Big 12 tip-off basketball at T-Mobile Center.
And how long ago was that? You remember the first? How long ago was that? About 4 years ago, I think.
I think somewhere right around, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And it is intentional of the look of the people on the show, just as it is intentional of the look of the people on the show on the Folks Talking Sports. And if you don't like that, that's your problem. All right, first topic, and today's show is going to be kind of in a topic format. So I'm going to post it, and then we'll discuss it and kick it around, and then toward the end, see if my colleagues have anything they want to discuss, get off their chest. We're going to talk some college basketball, women's basketball, portal talk. Mr. Moore is going to share a few of his, give his pennies, nickels, dimes about the Texans, Houston Texans, and some other things as well on today's edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. First topic, Dawn and Geno. Of course, we're talking about Dawn Staley and Geno Auriemma. Dawn Staley, head coach at South Carolina women's basketball. Geno Auriemma, head coach at UConn women's basketball. Your initial reaction after the Gamecocks defeated UConn in the semifinal of the Final Four, and the dust up, the swearing, profanity, and the back talk between two Philly people. Your initial reaction, Geno's milquetoast apology, Dawn taking the high road, then Geno's second apology. So who wants to go first?
AP, go for it.
I thought the initial apology, well, the incident detracted from the game. It was a distraction from UConn suffering its first loss of the season. It did nothing to it didn't compliment Dawn, didn't compliment South Carolina for their preparation or their execution of the game plan and how they played. It was just kind of like, oh, we're talking about Geno's behavior, instead of the game that was played and the fact that it happened, at the Final Four. Geno has a history. He's not going to win a Mr. Congeniality contest.
Correct.
And then the apology missed the
To
mark.
the staff of South Carolina.
You did not apologize. It's one of those ones where you hear like, if I apologize to anyone whom I may have offended, if you take no responsibility for your behavior. So to the staff, you didn't cause friction with the staff. You had issue with Dawn Staley. You apologized to her by name. And then you can say, and I apologize first to Dawn Staley for how I behaved. Secondly, to the South Carolina program, congratulations on your game and how you played. No.
Mr. Moore?
Miss me with that.
Mr. Moore?
Well, first, like I say, this is not Geno's first time getting dusted up, with a coach. I mean, I've been around long enough. I remember when him and Pat Summitt has gotten into it, and that's when Geno gives a lot of credit for women's basketball and what he has done. The 25, 12 championships, 25 Final Four, blah 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 blah. Geno swears that he has an ordained right to be there. He swears he has an ordained right to win once he gets there. And Dawn Staley basically just took it in, and she brought her North Philly out and with her team. Her team performed admirably because quite naturally, I can show you my bracket. I had them both in the. I carried them. Those were my teams. I carried to the Final Four. On my bracket. But
Mm-hmm.
I had Geno winning. Now I'm gonna blame you two for me having UConn because I think the last year, I think FTS we was talking, and then because I asked you, I say, is UConn? I mean, I watched them play, but y'all have
No,
invested.
no.
I watched.
I said, I did say it was UConn and everybody else.
Yeah, yeah,
Willie
and
Gibson, Willie took the field, and I thought that was a sucker bet.
yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
KP, look at Laquita, everybody was just saying UConn, and I'm going like they were undefeated. This is not and this is I forgot how many. This is like about the how many 8, 9, 10, 12. How many times Geno has carried an undefeated team to national championship and all like that.
Right.
And I'm sort of going like okay, but no, getting back to the dust up, and it's not a dust up. What Geno was mad about was the fact that you had your undefeated team broken in the Final Four. Okay, Geno, again, you're not. I mean, nobody. Once you get there, you still have to play. Don Staley team executed marvelously. I mean, I love their defensive preparation, and really, their defense won the game for them. They did not let UConn have an open shot. They were man for man, and I loved it. As far as what Geno is concerned, because what was Holly Rowe was the third quarter, and
Mm-hmm.
he was already exercising. I got she's over there screaming and yelling at the coach. Geno, you do the same thing. You have done the same thing. But what the thing that got me was the fact that he said that I got a player over there who has to change her jersey because her jersey's been torn. His own player tore her own jersey, and
Sarah Strong.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
he has yet to really say I made a mistake on that. He tried to blame that torn jersey on South Carolina. He was just trying to add everything. Yeah, Geno, you're upset, but you know what? if you're considered the dean, if you're considered the statesman, act like one instead of acting like a thug. And yeah, I just call you a thug because at this point, that was a total disrespect. And the way you got in Dawn Staley's face, from my perspective, you just lucky that's all Dawn said was a few words to you. Because I can see some other folks, they'd have probably had to bring the riot team down there to pull me off of Geno because
Well,
that was uncalled for.
Who was it? I forgot who it was. Somebody was reading lips and said that Don said, "I'll
Oh,
beat
she
his
did.
ass."
Yeah, no, there ain't no reading lips. That was no, there was no reading of lips. I mean, that they actually take. There's the tape that she said it not once. She said it
Oh, she
twice.
said it more. Oh, yeah, she said it more than once. Yeah,
No, she said it more than once.
the Philly Project Don came
Yeah,
out,
Luigi.
yeah.
but the milk
And
toast apology. He
that was not
said
an
the post
apology.
game press conference. His initial words were, "I said what I said." That was, he was being asked about it. I said what I said. He left it at that. Then later on in his post game, he kind of tried to give an explanation of why he was pissed off and said that he waited. The pregame custom is for the opposing coaches to shake hands, and he waited 3 minutes, and Don did not come. He waited for 3 minutes, and Don finally came, and the handshake wasn't, cordial or whatever. So that was. It sounded like an old man
it
losing his grip on women's basketball.
well, here's the deal. My daughter was here and she was watching the game, and she read I think Dan Webster's column in Yahoo Sports, and he made the reference to the Woody Hayes incident in the 1978 Gator Bowl when Ohio State was driving
Hmm.
and the player intercepted the ball. And Woody Hayes slugged the player coming down on the field. He just went out there and slugged the guy, of course, immediately the next day. But that's what, and initially, when she brought that up to me, and I remember quickly. I said, "Oh yeah, I remember that incident." I went to YouTube and showed her the YouTube, and she said, "Wow!" But then I did not draw that same analogy. I didn't think that was as similar to what Woody Hayes slugging a player on the field. But the only semblance was you had two old geezers and they acted like, and they were acting like two old geezers. And to me, at that point, I just say it's time for Geno to go. Really, it is. It's time for Geno to retire, walk on, move on. Because if you can't, at this point, when you sit there and talk and you enunciate your record, act like that's your record. Show some comportment. Show that you are the dean. He didn't show himself to be a dean. Not in my opinion. He showed himself to be a thug.
I mean, and
Kennetra?
then let's remember a year ago, the roles were reversed.
Yep.
UConn came out on top. But also, Geno wanted to talk about it's protocol. Am I right? It's protocol for the coaches to shake hand. She shook your hand, but for this secondary
Right.
handshake for pomp and circumstance, like miss me with that. But it is also protocol for coaches to shake hands after the game and for the coaches to shake hands with the staff of the opposing team as well as the players. No, Geno, forget protocol. He walked off the
He
court.
walked off the court. He left
Yeah.
early.
So don't so protocol when it's convenient.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then after that, was it Monday? Dawn Staley took the high road. She encouraged everyone to move on. She said she spoke with Geno. So your thoughts on what Dawn's official statement? Because Dawn spoke to Hottie Rowe right after the game on the court and she was hot. She was heated, but she handled herself well. Then, right after the game, post game, she said, "Y'all have to ask Geno."
Right.
And then her statement was much different than Geno's initial statement or UConn's women's basketball initial statement. So your thoughts on Dawn's statement?
Yeah, I mean, again, her initial statement, yeah, let's focus on how well her team played and the fact that they had to prepare to play UCLA. And again, like I'm not going to sit here and belabor the point If you want to know what went down, ask Geno. Secondly, her reaction to Geno's apology, you know, how Dawn probably really feels. There's the public response, and then there's the Philly Dawn response. But again, she's like, it doesn't do any good. It's water cooler talk to sit here and talk about. Okay, yeah, I talked to Geno and blah 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 blah, and he's still he is what he is. But even in this landscape, women's sports aren't being regarded, like the men's sports. So for the greater good, let's advance the narrative instead of just
she asked everybody to, for the growth of the game, let's move on. AD, what are we going to say?
Quickly, when you're talking about, and I like what at the end of the game when Dawn and the UCLA coach what she done.
Corey Close,
Yeah, to me, but let me go back to this. Dan Hurley, the coach, UConn's men's coach, when he was asked about that, and he was saying, "Well, I think we ought to give him a pass." Hell no, I'm not giving you a pass. No,
Agreed.
I'm not giving you a pass.
And then say,
no,
I'm rubbing off on Geno.
yeah, no. Well, admittedly, because he had an official that probably lost a chance to call a championship game because of some of his antics, and all of that's fine and dandy. But you know what? That comes with a price, and the thing about it, certain people are given the carte blanche or the caveat to act to extend themselves to be a fool at times, and everybody go and applaud and goes like, well, he takes winning. He
He's
takes
a competitor. He's a fiery coach.
All of that.
Right.
All that. But let Kris Gardner, let KP, let one of us do that on the sideline, and we will be barbecued, skewed.
I'm the angry black man.
Yeah,
I'm asked to. I was on one show. I was told to relax twice on the show, and I'm like, I'm a grown ass man. You don't tell me to do. So come on now, please.
Yeah. So
we get called temperamental.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are passionate.
Yeah.
Good word. Yes.
And for Dawn, Dawn took the Michelle Obama approach. She went real high. Whereas I'll be quite candid with you, this size 12 would have still been weighing in Geno's behind. Period.
But he also thoughts on Geno's second statement when he did apologize specifically to Dawn Staley.
I hadn't seen it yet. I've heard about it, but I hadn't seen it.
Oh, I shared it on Facebook, my personal page. I think I forgot to send it to you, but yeah, he made an official statement. Yeah, officially apologizing to her.
But see, here's the thing, though, Chris. He didn't write the first statement. That came from the ADs. From the SID. That statement was written not from Geno. They went ahead and tried to start covering for Geno. This was PR and them started trying to smooth it over because they already knew that they could see this volcano moving already. And that statement came from the SID's office. Geno didn't even know anything about that.
So let me play devil's advocate here for the show, for the takeover. So that first statement from UConn women's basketball, where there was not an apology to Dawn specifically,
that didn't come from Geno.
If that was coming from the SID, is it Geno still at fault, or is that the SID?
No, the SID was doing their job and trying, in my opinion, the SID knew there was a mess up, and the SID was trying to cover.
But the SID
UConn.
Did not mention in that statement. If it was the SID, did not mention Dawn specifically.
Well, you know what? Then the SID, I'm not going to knock the SID. The SID is trying to cover up for Geno's mess. And then, so I'm not taking the SID to task. All I'm saying is the SID tried to get out and get ahead of this, and I thought it was sloppily done.
Okay,
because
KP?
No, same. I it was just like, hey, let me defend the brand.
Yeah.
Now, that was in the semifinal. South Carolina, and I picked UConn to beat South Carolina because I thought South Carolina's offense would struggle against UConn's defense. The Gamecocks' offense struggled against UCLA's defense in the title game, and UCLA got their championship, their first NCAA women's basketball championship. So your thoughts on UCLA and Coach Corey Close getting her first title?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a well executed plan. I mean, they did, but I still talking about the disparity between the men's and the women's tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that the men's tournament starts earlier, but the women's, all of a sudden, their Final Four goes ahead of the men? So, I mean, so you had South Carolina playing, what, Monday night in Sacramento? The late game. Fly back home, 3 time zones, practice for a day, and then fly, and then go back to the West Coast.
Go to Phoenix, right?
They didn't stay out there.
I
mean, I think no. You know what? If that's the case, I'm a little bit. I'm surprised at that because why would you fly back? That doesn't make sense. That's an additional cost that you don't know. It's unnecessary cost. The guys didn't fly back.
But I'm just saying, the setup, the schedule, and then because they didn't know where they'd be playing. But why is it that like the men's tournament starts on the Tuesday after selection Sunday?
The first 4 is Tuesday for the men. Women starts on Wednesday.
The play-in.
But
again, Thursday. What is it for the women now? First 4 for them is it Thursday?
Thursday, and then Friday.
Mind you, the first 4 for the men, they're all in Dayton. Women's first 4 is at the site of wherever
campus site, right? Mm-hmm.
Campus,
right.
Again, they're just, it doesn't line up. When then all of a sudden, like why couldn't the women? Play?
Okay, this is an additional topic, and I still got a few more for us to discuss here on today's Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E. Do you think it's time for the women's tournament to start a week earlier or later than the men's tournament?
No.
Why not?
Here's the reason. All right. When was it? Excuse me. A couple of years ago, the men. I think it was the one. It wasn't. Was it the one when the Final Four was in Houston? No, it was the one prior to that when the women had when they were complaining about the facilities. They had a couple of dumbbells for the women.
The amenities, everything was lacking. Yes. Sedona Prince got that started. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think when you start doing that, to me, I like them comparted. Because you like Friday, it was like Friday, Sunday, and then Saturday, Monday. I think that's what they're trying. I mean, and keeping it all. To me, I like it like that. Now, you can start the men, make the men play Friday. Friday, Sunday, then women can go Saturday, Monday. But traditionally,
that's what Kenetra's saying, right?
Traditionally, it's always the men that played on Monday night. And I'll say this: I think that the brand and the amount of interest that's been shown with the women's game at this point in time, I think the women's game could carry a Monday night easy. I really do.
Okay, a few years ago, how about 10 years ago? Women's Final Four used to be on Tuesday. The title game used to be on Tuesday for a while, but the ratings weren't good enough. So that's why, because there was a point that the Women's Final Four semifinals was on Saturday, title game was on Sunday. Heck, that was the first year that I went, got a credential, was in San Antonio, and the game was on Saturday and Sunday. Semifinal Saturday, championship on Sunday. And then it evolved to Sunday, Tuesday, and people complained about the travel and the impact on families, and so that's why they moved it back to Friday, Sunday for TV purposes. So do you like it as it is currently? KP, you kind of nodded. You're saying no. Do you want the women's game?
let the men play Friday, Sunday, and the women play Saturday, Monday.
Flip it around. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, and you can still play Sunday night. Like you play Sunday night first 2 weekends. Why can't you play? I just think the women, as far from a preparation standpoint, I just think, you know,
So that's the tweak you want. You don't want a bigger change of starting a week earlier, a week later. You don't want nothing nothing that drastic.
I understand what you're saying because, like, for instance, in the Big 12, they've now moved the tournament. The women's tournament, conference tournament, is a week before the men, so that they can play at the same location.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, because so now you have a really long layoff. So
Would you want the Final Fours be in the same city?
I don't know about the same.
No,
I wouldn't say not the same
no,
city, but I
Okay.
mean, even like, you know,
I
like
wouldn't.
listening to Candace Parker talking about, you know, or this year's Hall of Fame class. You know, all the traveling because they had to make appearances at both Final Fours.
Right.
You know, so and said they didn't get to Indy until like after was it Saturday night they got to
Probably.
Indy.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
You know, so it's just
Because yeah, when the Final Four, and unfortunately we know what Final Four I'm referring to, the men's, was in Houston because there ain't been one in women's Final Four here in Houston yet, unfortunately. Anyhow, but men's Final Four, what was that? 2023 was the last one. AD here is 23,
Yeah,
21,
that
whatever it
was
was.
it.
Most recent one in Houston,
Yeah.
and they had the Hall of Fame class announcements here. You know, the male inductees. Well, I think even the women were inductees. They were here at the men's Final Four first, and then they had to go to whatever city it was for the women's Final Four. So that, you know, back and forth travel there, and of course the one year I did both when the Aggies won it all in 2011. Never do that again. Go to both Final Fours. Oh no, Biden said no, you can't do this anymore, man. I flew back and forth 4 days in a row. Just could not do it. Oh no, no, no. Mr. Moore, this
Yes, sir.
topic is for you, sir.
Go for
Houston
it.
Texans news. You have something to share, discuss regarding the
Yeah.
Texans today? Well, excuse me, Wednesday?
Wednesday, Texans picked up the option on their first round, but both of their first round draft picks, C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. And which now everybody, you know, at the end of the season, everybody was, I think it was a foregone conclusion. Yeah, Will Anderson. But some of the yahoos in this particular market and a few yahoos across the country, they was trying to, you know, say, well, you know, maybe we shouldn't maybe hold up on CJ. Do you want to commit this to CJ Stroud? Yeah, I knew he had a bad first half, you know, in Pittsburgh, and I knew he, you know, in the 4 interceptions against the what Patriots, whatever. I didn't even forgot. I knew he threw 4 interceptions. To me, to do anything different would have been basically suicide. I mean, that's the basis. You set yourself up to get these two guys, and you got them. And yeah, one is I think both of them are ascending. One had CJ had a tremendous freshman class, and then he sort of has plateaued and moved down. Will Anderson has continued to just escalate and escalate and escalate. So both of the options were picked up. I'm not surprised, and I think anything different would have just been totally stupid. And I applaud the Houston Texans for pick up both options. It's going to cost you some money, and so they both locked in. Both of them going to have nice fat contracts for that 5th year. And now here's the deal. Now here's what if you want to see what type of contracts, what type of bags Louis Vuittons are they really going to have for that second contract? That's where we're really getting ready to get into the situation because Will is going to have a bag unless Will just completely falls off the cliff. I think in this situation by them picking up the option on both of these young men, and I think CJ is going to have a comeback here because now what they have done, they got him a new quarterbacks coach, and I'm sitting there going like, I don't think it was the quarterbacks coach that was causing all of this. I think it might have been some play calling and some offensive line situation. But be that as it may, the Texans have gotten they picks from a few years back, and they got the option signed. So I'm good. I'm happy. Some of you knuckleheads out there that was advocating don't pick up CJ's fifth option. I wouldn't commit that type of money. Let me just be blunt. You're stupid, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
KP, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, and it's just part of the position. You know, you get all the blame and most of the credit. But again, like, what was CJ surrounded with?
It was put it like this. That would the
Was his O
offensive.
line healthy?
No, well, again, I think I stated this on folks talking sports right after the season, and I think we'll mention, and I still think that CJ had some residual effects from that concussion.
He has PTSD.
Yeah, I watched him very closely, and even when that was nice protection, CJ just never felt like he was comfortable in the pocket, watching his feet. A lot of times I would just lose track of the ball. I've been watching him and watching the rush and watching how he's responding to the rush. So in this case, I just think that the young man, he probably he just I don't think he's recovered from. I think over this period of time, I think he'll come back, and I think he's going to come back and. We'll see exactly when, because the Texans have made some significant changes to their offensive line. They've signed a kid from they got a guard from Cleveland. They got a tackle from Indianapolis. Uh, but my biggest deal, they let Titus Howard go, and I think I've expressed that. I don't know if I did or didn't. I sort of got some issues with them letting probably their best offensive lineman go again for the second year in a row. But we'll see.
Bottom of the
I'm
hour on
through.
today's edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover. You're watching on YouTube on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, but also or on Roku via the BS3 Network. Going to play the BS3 promo to give you an indication of the content on the BS3 app and on Roku via BS3. And we will be back in 90 seconds. KP Kennetra Pulliams, AD Adolphus Moore, and me, KG Kris Gardner. Come back in 90 seconds.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover of the Lunch Break, powered by JM&E on Throwback Thursday. I am KG Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. With me is Adolphus A.D. Moore from the AdMax Corner and Miss KP Kennetra Pulliams. Next topic, NCAA transfer portal. Kennetra, has anything surprised you? Portal news with your Kansas jail connections.
No. You know, it what they say, like First day was open. I mean, men's and women's side, 1,000 players in the portal.
Both sides, right?
Both sides.
Iowa State women's basketball, that didn't surprise you?
Iowa State, Tennessee, nope. Like,
You're not
Where do you
surprised. You're not surprised about the young lady leaving Iowa State
Audie
she
Crooks?
coming- yeah, and coming to South Carolina. That didn't surprise you, huh?
South
Okay.
Carolina. Yeah.
Well,
Is that what she picked?
I well, I thought
I,
I thought she was coming to South Carolina.
I thought she was coming to Houston. Oh, no, not coming to Houston. There are plenty of spots available. Coach Mitchell, I think he has 2 players returning,
yeah.
and one played last year. One.
Posed, like, what if you pair her with Hannah Hidalgo?
You know, that makes sense at Notre Dame, kinda. I mean, kind of a yin yang kind of thing. You know, Hannah, who should have been first team All American, Wooden Award, but I digress on that one. Hannah gets it done on the perimeter, or they can get it done on the inside. They can play fast or slow.
Yeah.
So y'all don't like my idea of her coming to Houston? Y'all don't think that's going to be feasible? No, y'all kind of poo-pooing that one.
How big
No.
is the piggy bank?
No, not enough for her to come here. Not even her to consider it. How about TCU?
Me,
Audie Crooks at TCU. They could afford it.
I don't know. I mean, you know,
Stay in the Big 12.
here's the one thing that I noticed about both champions, UCLA's team, and then UCLA. I mean Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. Those guys. I mean, all of them transferred in, but basically, you're looking at guys. What are they? When you look at them, they were all quote unquote seniors. I think the average age was 22. So, they that was a good investment on their NIL. And then when I turn around and look at UCLA, what they had 6 seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 6 seniors? And they say all of them will be probably get drafted into the WNBA. And I'm going like, which is unique. And then comporting that to reading the article today about the NC2A trying to trying to quantify the portal, because now they're trying to give players, oh, you're gonna give you only 5 years, no more than 6, 7, 8, 9. You're not gonna have a guy 28 years old still trying to play college football or college basketball or any type of college sports. So I found that interesting, and to me, that used to be the thing when, if you can get a team of juniors and seniors and get if they made it and get to the seniors, you expect to see this. Now these guys are drafting their players from the portal, and Michigan was a prime example. Then you turn around and look at UCLA, and they got a team full of seniors. So longevity, having some mature players and being able to work them in. If you're a good coach, to me, you should really show your worth when you able to go in the pool and pull out what you need, and then if you get to the big dance with it, hey, I applaud you. Go for it.
Is like since today is National Unicorn Day, is Alex Caravan like the last unicorn, the last high major player to have success and to stay at the same school for 4 years?
Well, I mean, you're saying success. He won championships. I could say here in H-Town, Mr. Joseph Tugler. He's going to come back to Houston most likely. He's going to come back for his 4th year. How rare is that? He'll be a 4-year player.
Yeah.
He's had Big 12 success, got to the championship game and lost to Florida. So it's rare to have guys, men and women, stay at the same place for 3-4 years. But it'll be interesting to see, because as long as the money is right, the price is right, you might see more of that in the future.
So let me poke, and I'm going. I think we probably might have discussed this earlier. How do you calculate graduation ratio? And I mean, student.
APR.
Yeah, I mean, KP. I'm just trying to. Is that no longer exist? Is that part of the factor now?
In theory.
Eligibility. I'm just asking. I'm just sort of going
No,
like,
no. When a student asset transfers, I think their APR calculation does not impact the incoming school. And as long as they, and this is the kicker and the key factor, as long as they maintain good academic standing, their previous school is not negatively impacted with APR. So the new school, no impact. The previous school, they just have to maintain good academic standing, and their APR is not hurt. So that's up to compliance to make sure that the players, the student assets, are doing that. That's what that is.
so.
Okay.
In other words, they got to have they got to keep a bare minimum of 12 hours. Is 12 hours still the qualifier to
Yes, I
be
think so.
considered a full time student? So
Right.
you okay, and then during your playing season, since basketball starts in one semester and then rolls off into the other semester. Okay, all right. I think I mean eligibility wise, it to me it seems more difficult for basketball than it does for football.
Well, I could say the spring semester, the on the men's side, guys who are already thinking about going to the NBA, they may go to class, in January, February, a couple of times, and they're done. I mean, so could pick their head in, Prof, I'm here. You got me apps, got me present. Thank you. I'm out. Or with laptops now, just log in on your laptop. I'm here. There you go. And keep it moving.
And that's the thing. Is like, especially, back any of the spring sports.
Yeah, because the young
They
man
have
that
two.
went.
Like you look at baseball and softball. They open the season playing back to back to back to back tournament. They'll be in Florida or they'll be in Arizona for like weeks at a time. So we know they're not in class.
Right.
So you either have by proxy or you do everything online. So same thing applies for basketball. I mean, I remember Michael Beasley when he was at K State. He was like, classroom, what? All my classes are online.
Yeah. And that was a few years ago. That was before AI and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, imagine what it is now. Next topic or question. This is kind of, I have this in mind. It's a generic question, but you can kind of guess what programs I'm referring to. Would you rather, Mr. Moore, Ms. Pulliams, would you rather be a fan of a program, talking about athletics, men's basketball, women's basketball, football, whatever, that is nationally relevant, competing for championships every year for 20 years? Pick a number, 20 years, 15, 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever. But doesn't win the national championship? Or would you rather be a fan of a team that wins one national championship in that same 10, 15, 20-year time period and basically stinks the rest of the years?
Are you talking about Hubert Davis in North Carolina?
General question, general program.
It sounds like it's interesting. I would prefer consistency. And if I'm consistent for 20 years, I mean, and if I get there, if I get a sniff there, I mean, UCLA's women, their first title in history. Am I correct? Basketball,
NCAA.
NCAA. Because I know women, way back it was a different,
They
they
won the
treated. Yeah,
AIAW 78.
yeah,
Right.
right. So this is their first NCAA championship, and and think about, I'm old enough to understand. Think about John Wooden and all that long lineage, and the thing of, but they actually won, and they won when the field was like 32, and now
Hmm.
they talking about expanding the field to like 138 now. Some
No,
ridiculous.
76 or 76, 76.
Well, I mean, to me, anything past what you're doing right now, I think is watering down the talent. I think it's
That's
overkill.
what Coach K said.
I think it's watering down. I think it's overkill. I agree with expanding it to 32. I'm getting off the topic, but I agree with doubling to 68. I think leave it there. I mean,
Back on topic, sir. So
yeah,
what do you want? Consistency with no championship or one championship and then stink, average to stink the rest of the time?
consistency.
KP?
I would like departmental consistency,
Meaning?
men's and women's.
But what does that mean? No championship for on either side?
Yeah, I mean, I think if if you're competitive, if you have, you know, if you make it to the second weekend, if you make Elite Eights, Final Fours, if you make it to a championship game, I'd rather have that than just hey, you happen to get hot, you happen to win 6 games, and then I mean, because I think it's hard to sustain revenue if
Up and down.
you get hot once and then you suck, because then all of a sudden you're having to do coaching changes, because like you have to be able to win to keep your job. So
Okay.
if you have a losing record, you're irrelevant.
But Mr. Moore, I was thinking about North Carolina. One, I'm a Duke fan. I can Tar Heels, Smart Heels, who cares? But I was thinking of Gonzaga, Coach Mark Few, but also thinking about Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson. 12 years. They're now a nationally relevant program,
A brand.
but
They
they
are a
have
brand.
not won. They have not won it all, and there are some people starting to. He
I
can't win
know.
the big one. He can't win
Yeah.
the big one. So it's time to that kind of
Well,
discussions. That's why I wanted to put it out for discussion. So as everyone is watching the show on Thursday or the rebroadcast, type in your comments what you think. What do you want? Do you want a championship, one championship, and really irrelevance the rest of the time, or being nationally relevant for 10, 15, 20 years, where you're going to the tournament every year, you got a shot every
well,
year to win a championship. You just need a break
but,
here and there to get it done.
but Chris, I'm gonna come back to your point. Your alma mater. You talking about your alma mater under Guy Lewis? You went to several Final Fours. You never won it, but you were
Correct?
consistent for that. You were consistent for that period. Then there was a drought. Okay.
There was nothing. It was
Well,
irrelevance. And the
but
fans were
now,
apathetic.
yeah, but now you are relevant. You have
Hmm.
been relevant, and so Kelvin Sampson has built the program back. I mean, for a while there, the best thing with Tillman Fertitta, or back then Hawthorne Pavilion, when that was a period, best thing. Oh, I remember going to this concert at Hawthorne. No, that was a stretch in there. You knew more about going to a concert at Hawthorne as opposed to going to watch U of H Cougars play basketball at Hawthorne, or either go watch Carl Godine or somebody like that come over for the regional and play high school
Right.
basketball.
Real quick. Last two things. WNBA. We're cramming in free agency and we crammed in the expansion draft for the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. Getting ready for the WNBA draft on April 13th. Thoughts on the 1 year away from the Houston Comets 2.0 Connecticut Sun? And I guess AJ Jones brought it up in a previous Folks Talking Sports. Should Comet fans start paying attention to what the Sun do this year and who they draft on the 13th? could those players on the 13th be future Comets? Or will they completely start over?
No,
KP?
I think they should pay attention. How much they will, I don't know. It just depends how much of a fan of women's basketball you are. Because I
Mr.
mean,
Moore?
if you're not a fan now, just because Houston's getting a team doesn't mean all of a sudden, ooh.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to, because as it stands right now, that Connecticut team basically is sort of like the quote unquote
Huskies
professional version
alumni.
of the yeah, they're the professional version of University of UConn, because basically they got those players. They got the players that identified in that area. I think part of the marketing thing that they're going to have to deal with now is how are you going to translate that up in Yukon, in the Connecticut area, down here. And I think some basically you better hope, like, they better find somebody within this area, or they be getting ready to do some massive trading and starting trading players off and start
I
trying to
wonder how
get some
season ticket
heads in.
sales or down, what is it, deposits are going for Houston Comets 2.0.
They taking deposits now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I
But the
didn't know
fact
that.
that there you go. The fact you did not know that says a lot right there.
And, I try to keep my ear to the ground, but I didn't even know they had put up a.
That
Had they
my point.
advertised? Had they ever advertised it? I haven't seen any advertisements from it.
Again, you are you are answering my question right now. But
Well,
the Houston Rockets organization got approved for $180 million for Toyota Center Reimagined, which Tillman's going to put about half of it, going to upgrade facilities, and that was announced on Wednesday. And you get to go to the website and see pictures, renderings of what it's going to be, and suite upgrades and different things like that. They're going to redo or build or upgrade the practice facility for Houston Comets 2.0. So I think that answers our question about where the Comets are going to practice. Not going to be at the Rockets facility. So I wonder how many upgrades and amenities they're going to provide for the 2.0 version of the Houston Comets. But
is it definitive they're going to be called the Comets?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, yeah. There's that.
So,
The
so,
website's
so,
already up there. Everything. Yep.
okay, all right. So, I guess my question: who kept the name? I mean, who kept the name Comets? I mean, did Tillman have to go pay somebody to bring that name
Possibly.
for?
Someone could have bought it. Somebody with the WNBA could have bought it. But within the last year or so, I think someone purchased it, and that's when discussion started floating around the city of Houston about the possible return of the Comets. So yeah, which it could be a good thing. Maybe the Comet fans, the Sea of Red fans from years ago, return and start supporting the Houston Roundball Review, because goodness knows they don't support the college teams in town on the women's side. Of course, they really don't have much reason to support the women's teams on the college side, because those teams aren't very good outside of Rice women's basketball. But
Yeah.
final thing, KP, Mr. Moore, is there anything you want to discuss in these last 4 or 5 minutes of today's edition of the Takeover? Anything you want to get off your chest?
Huh?
Well, I think I'm done with Geno. I've already got. I mean, I'm gonna let. I think I beat that horse enough. You know,
So you don't have November 24th circled on your calendar?
what's November 24th? I mean, who is
South
that?
Carolina, UConn at the Mohegan Sun.
November 24th. I guarantee you that I got to see what a Texans schedule are. I guarantee you I might be on, I'm probably, depending on when the schedule comes out, KP, I might be on the road following the Texans, because by that time, it's I think this is I hate to go into the area of hyperbole, but I think this is a make or break year. I think that the Texans need to break through this year to get to the AFC Championship.
November 24th is a Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Well, that means that means I'll be watching it on television somewhere.
Is that Thanksgiving Tuesday?
That is week of Thanksgiving. So ideally, I'd like to be in Vegas for the Players Era event with Cougs and other Big 12 schools. So I'm putting it out there in the universe. If anyone wants to help support the
Consolidated
expenses for that.
The consolidated players eras.
Instead of 32, it'd be 24, something like that. And supposed to be some announcements about the teams and format the next few days. Sometime this month, it's going to have more details announced about the 2026 Players Era. And hopefully that includes the women's teams that we will be participating, because there hasn't been much talk about that at all. All it's been so far about it is on the men's side. Very quickly, women's college basketball, I love it. I love basketball. Teams, friends of the program, are investing so much money, men's hoops, women's hoops. Is the return on investment, is it enough when you really comes down to one bad night? The Cougs had one bad night shooting against Illinois. Then Illinois had one bad shooting night later on in their Final Four. Women's side, South Carolina had one awful performance against UCLA. Texas had an awful shooting performance in their loss.
Maddie Booker had one bad shooting night, and they were within 3 to UCLA.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is the millions of dollars being invested, does it make sense if you could have your season ruined one bad night?
But that's why you play the song "One Shining Moment." Okay, that's to me the epitome of one shining moment, because it is one shining moment. And it takes a little bit of luck to get there. However, now it seems like if you can go in the portal and your NIL money can cover you 6, 7 players, or you can have 6 or 7 seniors, it still comes down to that the trumpets, dun, 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 ball goes up. I mean, all of that. That's what. Yeah, it comes down to that, Chris. It's still.
Oh no,
That's
I
still
agree.
part of the deal.
It's the beauty of the journey. It's the beauty of the tournament. That's why I
Yeah.
enjoy the journey of the tournament.
Yeah,
That's why
as opposed to the NBA, where the playoffs start in April and end in June. Like, come on now.
Well, I love that even more, because truly that, I think, determines a champion. Because you have to you could have a bad night, but you got a series to win. I'm not sure, because you won and done in college basketball, it doesn't necessarily mean the best team wins the whole thing. I'm not saying if the Cougs become one of those teams to win it all,
Yeah.
that's all that matters. I love that I'd run around like a fool if the Cougs win a championship one year, but it doesn't mean they were the best team all season.
Well, hey, Chris.
They just won 6 in a row.
Think about this, and I know we're getting ready to get to the end of the program. Florida lost their game the same way Houston lost to them in the final. They couldn't get a shot off at the end. I mean, if you go back and play those last few seconds of both games.
Oh, I
they
agree.
couldn't-
Just as UConn won because of a Duke turnover, and yet Danny Hurley was close to becoming the greatest coach in college basketball.
And here's the other thing, Chris. Illinois' coach. I mean, for those who used to cover. He used to be at Sam Houston. I mean, at Stephen F. Austin.
Correct.
And he's come out of here many a days. Of tournaments. With that.
Let's wrap it
team.
up, Mr. Moore. Wrap it up. How can folks find on social media?
I'm done. Oh, catch me, IG, Threads, AdMax Corner, Twitter, AD_Moore64. I appreciate it. Now, my kids tell them to go back to, instead of watching this in class, they need to go back and do their homework or do their work.
Are you Queen Pulliams? You still on LinkedIn?
Still LinkedIn, Facebook. There I am. Done.
All right, and of course, Houston Roundball Review. Follow on IG, Threads, TikTok, Houston Roundball Review. To Kennetra Pulliams, Adolphus A.D. Moore, I am KG Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching on Roku. Until next week, since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective.